Now, if you've ever felt stuck choosing between wealth or your health, then this episode is for you. The Online Prosperity Show is where we uncover real stories, strategies, and mindset shifts behind people who've built both. And today, you're about to meet somebody who's doing exactly that. Now, Bonita, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Fantastic. I'm really excited for what we're about to uncover on the show today. Now, for those that are tuning in to the Online Prosperity Show, this is the number one place to discover people, ideas, and systems that help you build a richer life, not just a bigger bank account. And today, as I've mentioned, I'm joined by Bonita Reniers, a woman that somehow managed to juggle three businesses, three kids, and a marriage, and also had a stint in the financial services and now in test-based nutrition. And she still claims she stopped aging at age 21. We'll definitely be fact-checking that one. Now, Bonita and her husband left the corporate world, survived launching a business during COVID, and have built where they built a financial brokerage from scratch and then jumped into a completely different industry. This is health and nutrition with Zinzino. So this is not just a business story. It's about balance, self-belief, fear, and redefining success on your own terms. So if you've ever felt maybe successful but not fulfilled, or wanted more freedom for your family, or maybe doubted whether you're capable of more than your current life, you're in the right place. And before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show on whatever platform you're listening on, because this is where real transformation happens. Now, Bonita, I could go on and I could start talking about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. But I'd love to start with the most important question today. You claim that you stopped aging at 21, and now you just celebrate 21, your 21st birthday every 10 or so years. Tell us, what has been the fountain of youth?
All right, well, I firmly believe in a strong mindset. And while clinically I cannot prove that I literally stopped and physically stopped aging at 21, I truly believe that, put it this way, I believe that I can really do anything if I put my mind to it. And that envelops itself. And I mean, when you turned 21, you felt that the world was at your feet, right? You could do anything. So I think this just kind of encapsulates my personality, my mindset. And I really do. This is the truth. Every 10 years since turning 21, I celebrate my 21st birthday. My whole family knows it. My friends know it. It's become a running joke, but it's all about mindset at the end of the day. I choose not to admit that I'm getting older. I'm only getting wiser, and it's not because I'm afraid of getting old. I can't wait to grow and to get wiser as the years go by. But I refuse to believe that as you get older, everything else dies and everything else comes to an end. No, not at all.
Absolutely. You know what I was expecting? I thought there was a skincare routine and some three things you got to do in the morning, and then maybe sleep with three fingers on the ground. I didn't know that it was just a mindset. But obviously, you didn't arrive at this, just by being yourself. Take us back a little bit. What did life look like maybe in the corporate world, and what actually felt off when things seemed to be going well?
What felt off while I was in the corporate world? I was in a constant rat race. At least it felt like it. Picture a dog chasing its tail, running round and round and round, working yourself to the ground. I still work really hard. In fact, I work harder now that I'm an entrepreneur. So this idea of owning your own business and all your problems will go away, it's no, 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 no. It's all relative. The thing is, the big shift came in while I was in the corporate space. Although you're working so hard, you have the ceiling and you're not in control of your own income. You're not in control of your own outcome. You're in control of keeping your job. And that's about it. And you're always making somebody else's dream come true. And while there's good in it, there's plausible achievements in that, and there's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough for my husband. We knew that there was more out there for us, and we find ourselves a misfit in the corporate industry. We just could not fit the mold. So what was off? At the time, it felt like everything was off. We just didn't feel fulfilled in what we were doing, no matter how hard we tried. We just knew that there was something else out there for us.
Mm. Would you maybe have come to a specific moment when you realize, you know what, this cannot be my forever?
Yes, it was my daughter's. We've got an older son, we've got twin daughters, and they were turning, was it their third birthday? And I missed it because of a corporate golf day I had to go to. Thinking back, I knew I could have told my boss at the time, I can't make drinks after the golf day. I'm going home to celebrate my twins' third birthday. But at the time, I felt, well, and that's how it is. It's hierarchy. It's you do as you're told and you keep your job. So I forfeited my little girl's third birthday. And I did celebrate with them for half an hour quickly before they went to bed that night. I still managed to squeeze off earlier, but it was horrible. And that ate away at me. I mean, they're turning 10 this year, this 7 years ago. But it was just, um, that was a turning point for me where I just thought, no, this cannot be it. And I loved the position I was in at the moment. I was actually thriving. I loved the industry. I loved the company. But that hurt. It really hurt. And that's when I knew something had to change.
Now, Bonita, I don't know if they told you, but when kids turn three, they literally become three-nagers. Not a lot of people will be celebrating wanting their kids to be, but
It's
obviously,
the first time I've heard that.
so you did mention what you were leaving behind was something that a lot of people could die for, literally. What was your typical day? Just if you can just give us a cross section of the things that you're talking about, because right now you just mentioned a golf, you know, outing.
A golf day.
Yeah.
Well, I was an insurance broker at the time in the short-term space. So the typical day would be waking up a little bit earlier, getting the kids ready for school, getting the toddlers ready for nursery school, dropping them off, going to work, and starting the red race. Opening the laptop, checking the diary, making cold calls, seeing clients, doing admin, and then quickly during lunchtime, going to fetch my son at school. My girls were full day at creche at that stage, dropping my son off at home, and then going back to work until 4:30, 5 o'clock, fetching the girls, coming home, doing supper, putting the kids to bed, and then I was still doing my BCom degree at the stage, and then I would start studying for a couple of hours, and then wave my husband goodbye to bed, and then go to bed, and then repeat the next day.
Ooh, but that seems like the norm. What's wrong about that? You had a life, you had a car to drive these kids to, you had a job to go to that they wanted you to be in there, you're doing your BCom.
I couldn't complain. I had a nice car. I had a job that paid really well. I had job security, amazing international company. I had everything going for me. On face value, yes.
Mm, right. And so you missed his birthday, and obviously, that started ticking away towards there's got to be more. I could do better. Um, what was the next thing you did? Because there's a time when is that the time when COVID hit, or is that around about
Just
the same?
before.
Just before, yeah.
Just before. It was just before. I have to be honest, and I don't want to preach, but I started praying. I started praying even harder, more intentionally about what I needed to do because I knew there was something else. I just didn't know what it was, and I was still in that employee-employer mindset. So we've been brought up in this culture that you go to school, then you study, then you get a good job, and then you stay in that job and you start saving, save until you've got enough for retirement. I mean, I was taught exactly the same thing in my BCom financial management studies. It's just everything reiterated. So I wasn't sure what was the next goal. I knew I always wanted more. So if I wasn't going to become the owner of the company that I worked for, I had to start something myself. And it was during this time that a previous customer of mine reached out and asked me if I wanted to buy her business. It was in the same industry with, wow, and I knew her from a previous company that I was with. And that was the start of our entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, when they say when the student is ready, the teacher will show up, or the lessons will be learned that will get them to where they want to go. But in our environments, like you said, society tells us, there's a whole sequence of events that need to happen. Get a job, get married, buy a house, buy the car, or whatever it is. And the whole sequence of it. Were there people around you that you would have said, wow, at least if I can do what they're doing, my life will be different? Or was everybody around you just humming, doing the whole hamster wheel, routine like you're talking about?
Very interesting question, and I never asked myself that, and I actually never realized. And it was the answer to that is no. There was no one around us that we could look up to say, I want what they have, or I think this is wrong the way we're living. We should be doing that. No, we didn't have any peers, any friends or family who embarked on this journey outside of just us. No. So it was a real leap of faith. And we just listened to our gut feeling. And we just, although everything society would have told us, no, you're leaving so much job security behind, we knew it was the right decision. And I think the timing was good because we were actually, while we knew we had to do something wrong, something I didn't mention before this previous client reached out to me, we actually were looking at land, not far away from Nelspruit where we live, to build a little lodge. We were going to have a little self-catering unit, and we thought that was the way. We just knew we needed to generate something of our own. And we thought, well, that was it. And so we started freeing up money. And it was literally, we were about to go sign for the land when I got the call. And we thought, okay, what do we do? And we just knew we had to go down this route. And it was the best decision because literally we had signed, we did the change of ownership of the business, and we were going to start the 1st of May 2020. And what was the 1st of May 2020? Lockdown.
Lockdown.
So had we gone the other route, we would have lost a lot of money because we wouldn't have been able to build. We wouldn't have been able to rent the unit out. So sometimes you just got to trust your gut feeling when it comes to those decisions. And we also would have stood a big chance of being retrenched with the corporate because those companies that we were with did lay off a lot of people. So financially, we didn't suffer at all. We were very blessed in that period. So it's all about, yeah, trusting the universe also to just bring you the right opportunities at the right time.
Talk about everything just falling, down, especially in COVID. I don't know how it worked out for you guys. We ended up becoming the most locked down city in the world. I think 287 or so days, if I'm not mistaken. And it just became a way of life. But, you launched your first business right as COVID hit, because that's run about that sort of time. What was going on through your head at that point? Because, you're just been planning all this land purchase. It takes a lot of energy, and now you've been given this opportunity and you're like, okay, fine, let's abandon ship there, let's jump onto this one.
Absolutely. The biggest lesson I learned during that time was, I had come out of, what was it? At the time, about 12, 13 years in the insurance space. So I knew what I was doing. It was nothing new. But it's one thing to actually be in an industry. It's a total other thing to be an owner of a business. Running a business is not like being a broker or giving advice on insurance. No, there's a whole different skill set. So it was a rude awakening, but it was a lot of personal development and growth in that space. So I think the saving grace was I had a lot of relationships in the industry, which helped already. But it was a running concern as well. And the industry itself, the insurance industry itself, was, while a lot of businesses closed down and it hurt premium income, it was one of the safer industries to be in at the time. It still generated a decent income. So that was very easy. But it wasn't easy in the sense that we had no training, we had no nothing because it was lockdown. I think that's only when people's really started embracing Zoom and Microsoft Teams and online meetings, that sort of thing. So we didn't even think of doing it, that way. It was all new and it was survival mode and it was panic struck in. But luckily, we learned really quickly. And it was chaos. We had the kids at home because the schools were on lockdown as well. So it was a crazy, crazy time. But yeah, I think that's what got us through. It's just knowing you either have to swim or you're going to sink. And that's what got us through at the end of the day.
Absolutely. When you talk about that, my kitchen table, it became a classroom. It became a laundromat. It became a restaurant, and it became a boardroom all at the same time. Like everything was happening over there. So I can only imagine, and you said you've got it's twins, right? That had only just turned 3. So everything had to be done all in the same space. But when you leave your comfort zone and you shift into something else, and also the world was not in its right sort of frame or state, you've said that your biggest shift was to stop doubting yourself, because a lot of people go into these sort of business or endeavors and then they have imposter syndrome. Like you said, it's a whole different game ball to now be the one that has to make the decisions. Whereas when you're a broker, you're just part of a network or part of what is happening. But if you now are the short caller, it's not an easy thing. So what did that actually look like in real life?
Well, I think I realized it over a period of time. It wasn't as if I just woke up and like, okay, I can trust myself. I think it got to a point where I realized while helping the people that I was working with, I realized, hang on, I actually do know a lot more than I realized. And having to make those decisions puts you in a position where you've got no one else to ask. You've got to lean on your own understanding. And I mean, the fact that the business didn't grumble, that in itself is proof that I could rely on myself. I knew that I had what it took to actually make this happen, but I needed to get over the fear of doubt more than anything else. Um, we're all going to fall, we're all going to fail. But it's important to, when you do fall or fail at something, there's a phrase that they say, fail or fall forward. Don't fall backwards and then think this is it, or think now you have to rebuild. No. If you do make a mistake, you have to learn from what it was that went wrong or a decision that you made that wasn't perhaps the right decision, and then build from there. You're a better person for that failure now. So see it as a building block in your success story. Because if it wasn't for that, you would not learn, you would not get better, and you would not succeed. So it's a mind it's this mind shift that you have to embrace, that you know what, there really is no such thing as falling and fading backwards. You only do that forwards. You learn from it, you move on, and then you get to the next step.
I wish a lot of people would learn from kids because, when kids fall, they don't necessarily stay there and be like, yeah, nah, that's it. I'm not gonna get back up. They get back up and keep trying again. Get back up and keep trying again. That happens when they're learning how to ride a bike, drive a car, all of those stages in their lives. They never stop at, oh my God, I had this barrier. Now I'm gonna have to go back and curl. But today you have started talking about balance, and this is some of the message that really drew us to you. What did it cost you before you actually learned that lesson?
My health, my sanity. I mentioned earlier that I was working, I was chasing my own tail.
Mm,
Um, when you own your own business, and then it went into two businesses, and then just before the third business, I was working myself into the actual ground. But you tend, it's very difficult to keep that line or to draw the line in the sand and say, all right, my workday ends here because now it's family time. When you're working for yourself, there's no one else to blame. There's not another colleague that perhaps went on leave and now you've got to pick up the work and now that's why you're behind, or a boss that didn't advise you properly and now you didn't know any better. You're the boss. You're the owner of the business. It ends and it starts with you. So you tend to go over and beyond to make sure that you're doing more than you need to do so that you know you're doing your best. And it's very easy to lose focus of everything else. So while I never get physically ill, um, for women, this is a pain point for most, but I started feeling horrible. I started feeling horrible about myself. My energy level was down, and that's not likely. I'm a real energizer bunny in the sense that I can't sit still. When I took a semester, I remember it was about 2.5 years in, and I needed to take some time off from my studying. It was just too much. I couldn't anymore. So I took a semester off. And I think that's when I realized I had lost touch of who I was. When the kids went to bed, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt bored. I felt frustrated and irritated because now I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't even want to exercise. And I love exercising. Exercise is a hobby for me. I didn't even want to do that. And I think that was the biggest, besides on how I felt energy wise with my health, I knew my mental state wasn't right because I had lost complete touch of who I was as a person. I was empty. And it took that. I remember at the time I reached out to my best friend and I explained everything to her, and she actually came up with a brilliant idea. She said, you know what, once a week on a Thursday, let the three of us get together and we're just going to chat. And it was through that we started reconnecting. She lives far away. But nonetheless, we started reconnecting. We started reliving childhood days. And slowly but surely, I realized, I love baking and I don't bake anymore. I
mm.
love exercising. So we actually started Pilates classes online. Every Thursday, we would do a Pilates class together, and then we would, you know, have a glass of wine afterwards and just chat about our weeks. And it was that slowly it started igniting that excitement in me again, about new ideas. It got my mind thinking. And for the first time in a long time, I realized, hang on, I do have those dreams and I do want to succeed. So it wasn't very long. It was near the end of that year. I re-registered for my studies again. And while it was difficult, it felt really good to be back on track again.
I like that because you know what they say, you're an average of the five people that you hang around with, and that's the reason why I asked you that question earlier. Was there anyone around you that would have, you know, made you see things in a whole different world? So maybe you can speak to this. How important are the people that you surround yourself with in terms of, moving yourself forward or actually, succeeding in life?
It is the most important thing. Other than your spouse, if there's one thing, you have to pay attention to the people you hang around with.
Mm,
And a lot of people, I get asked that a lot. And a lot of people often question, how do I know I'm hanging out with the right people? Well, how do they make you feel? Do you feel drained after speaking with them? Do you feel energized? Well, our closest friends don't gossip. They believe in energy. They are high, or they're very high in energy. They also don't believe that things just happen for no reason. Everything happens for a reason to show them. And yeah, we're very careful with who we hang out with. And so yeah, if you find yourself with people, hanging out with people, and then once you left their house, or even if you're just talking to somebody at the school when picking up your children and you feel drained afterwards, stay away from them because they're going to drain your energy. I know it sounds horrible, but you really need to take care of your energy. And if you feel drained after a conversation or after a visit, pay attention to that. There's a reason for it. And rather align yourself with people that make you feel good about yourself or good about life in general, or excited or happy. That's who you should be hanging out with.
And I quite like that because around us, there's people that seemingly are a public success, but are generally a private failure. Like if we would maybe take a look at, your particular example, you had everything that anybody would hope for and dream for, but yet inside you kind of felt like something was missing. So what was it that then changed your mindset when you realized that success means nothing if your health collapses?
I think it was just realizing and going back over the timeline to a time where we financially didn't need or want for anything. We weren't happy. Then we were living our dream with owning our own businesses, still financially reaping the benefits, but still there was nothing. Realizing that that emptiness was still there. And that was alarming because we did what we thought we should be doing. And we made that big leap, and it was very exciting, but it faded very quickly because we still weren't approaching life in a balanced way.
Now, you took a leap and you jumped into health and nutrition. That's a totally different industry. What sort of fears were going on at this time, and were you just like, you know what? It is what it is.
You know, we still have the other two businesses, so it's not like we abandoned ship on the financial industry and we're just focusing on this. So there's no fear in this one. It just makes sense. And I hope that makes sense to the people listening. But I think we got to a point where we knew we had to make a shift in our health and in the way we're approaching our businesses even. And this was a slow transition in that it took a couple of months while adjusting our lifestyle and paying attention to the supplements that we're using, where we realized we started feeling differently inside. And when you show up to work more energized, when you show up to the study table to help your children with their homework and you're not feeling drained and tired, you show up and you're a different person. You're more enthusiastic. So you approach every task with more energy and you make different decisions. When you start making different decisions, you live a different life. And it's that energy that you produce, it just attracts like-minded energy. And it's a snowball effect. Doesn't mean that life is bliss, but you're able to tackle life's challenges in a lot more positive way. So it just influences everything in a positive way.
Absolutely. You know what they say? You can't do well if you don't feel well, you know? And even if you try anything, there's always some sort of placebo out there that is just designed to keep you subscribed to that particular thing. So your connection with what you're doing now and your financial background is basically based on data, really, just making sure you've got the right information about, what it is that you're, subscribing to. Tell us a little bit about, what you're working on now and how it actually makes people um, do well, be well, and, have more.
Well, it's a two-part model, really. Because one part is that we can generate an income for people wanting to join the business, and the other part is we're really looking after your health, and we're getting your body into balance. So it's a win-win at the end of the day. We're creating wealth and looking after financial well-being, and we're creating health and wellness in our business partners or clients.
So is it fair to say that you've always been in business of helping people make better decisions with data? This time it's just in different formats.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I have a span of, let me give my age away, 20 years in the
21.
industry. 21, 20 years in the insurance industry and the financial industry. We've got, going on 3 years in the health and wellness industry now. And it really is. It all comes down to data, whereas in the insurance, it's numbers. And you're going on previous trends and learning from the way legislation's changing and how we can cover our clients. And the flip side, again, it's numbers. It's all in the numbers and it's test-based, which is just fantastic because when you're taking supplements, other than the way you're feeling, you don't really know what's happening on a cellular level. And that's what we're able to offer clients and business partners now.
But you know, some people just say some of these wellness products when they come in, they just trends or fads, or they come with the season and whatever flavor of the month it is. What would you say about somebody who's skeptical about Zinzino?
Well, it's all out there. You can go look at medical journals and you can go look at studies. Our omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is out of balance. And, statistically speaking, with our own data, we've tested over 1.6 million people worldwide, and we found that 97% of people are out of balance. And what that's telling us is that the world is we're ingesting too much omega-9 and omega-6 and not enough omega-3. So what that causes is a state of silent chronic inflammation. And that leads to a number of ailments that people usually think it's just because you're getting older. That's why you're feeling this ache or this pain or you're suffering from headaches. So, you can go out and you can do your own research and you will see the link between silent chronic inflammation and these ailments.
So, Bonita, when we started, you introduced us to a frantic mother of three who was trying to go to a 3-year-old's birthday and has had three businesses. There's something about the number three here, but as we conclude, as we conclude here, you're now telling us you've taken your kids out of traditional school, you travel and work remotely, and you're now present at sports and games and dance classes, and you've built both financial and a physical well-being. Now, that's the kind of success that most people want, but few actually design their life around. How would you say you've managed to pull it all together?
Number one is I got out of my own head. I got out of my own head and I started working on myself. And it's all about personal growth at the end of the day and believing that you can and believing in more than yourself, finding a purpose other than for yourself. And the minute you find your passion and you can align it with something greater than yourself that can help your community, you are unstoppable.
I like that. Now, your claim to fame is you have been 21 for the longest time known to any human being. But if you could actually go back to the time you were actually 21, what would you tell that real 21-year-old Bonita about the person you've become today?
I'd say, Bonita, don't waste your time doing what society tells you to do. Follow your dreams and don't say no, like to yourself. Don't say no to your dreams and your goals and your aspirations. And if it's crazy, then you're on the right track. If your dreams aren't big enough, well, then they're not the right dreams for you. I wouldn't necessarily go back and do things differently because it's enabled me to make the decisions that I make now with a lot more assertiveness. I think if I didn't take the route that I took, I might still be guessing. I might still be thinking, hang on, maybe should I, shouldn't I? I think everything happened when we were ready. And I can gladly look back and think, I'm so glad we did what we did when we did it because we were ready to do it. So I think if there's a message out there, if something's niggling, do it, explore it,
Mm,
because there's a reason for it. We are
like
all pioneers. Yeah, we're all pioneers, and you owe it to yourself. It's your duty to be successful.
success is your duty. I like that.
Yes.
And I quite like what you're saying there because from what you're saying, confidence is not just a personality trait. It is actually a muscle that you have to train over and over again for you to be able to
Absolutely.
then stand and be confident. And fear isn't necessarily danger. It's just you haven't trained your potential to achieve those things that you want to achieve. So I feel like you just didn't build all these businesses and all of these things. I think you actually rebuilt your own identity from this.
I think you're right. I think, yes, I think you're right. I think in this growth process, we found our identity, our true identity. And I think we can grow and build on this foundation because it's just the beginning.
Absolutely. And if somebody's watching this right now and they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, I want some of that 21-year-old glow and everything else that comes along with it," where can they go on the internet to find a little bit more about your work and what you're working on right now, Bonita?
Oh, they can find me on LinkedIn, and I can also share my online website with Zinzino. We can share it on the podcast. I don't know, it's quite a long, is there a way we can share it?
That's fine. I'll put the link in the show notes below and then
Okay.
definitely, we'll
And
get
then, yeah, they can also, yeah, find me on Insta, on Bonita Reniers, Zeal, Zeal, but we'll share the links.
absolutely. Now, throughout the conversation, Bonita, you kept saying we, and I'm supposing you're talking about Brendan, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. How much of a support system has he been first for you as an individual and for you as a team that is, facing all of these things alone, from what I'm gathering?
Oh, everything. We're blessed in the sense that we're able to feed off each other. And what I mean by that is, our whole marriage has been based on a partnership from day one. So we're a team at the end of the day, and there's certain skills where, and especially I think he's been my backbone when it comes to my self-doubt and my confidence. And he's really fueled me in that area. And you say you always refer to your spouse as your better half, and I really believe that. I think they are your better half is because you look for things that you lack in the person that you attract. So he's yeah, no, he's definitely been the backbone. I mean, he's had to carry the family when it's been late nights when I'm studying, dealing with a deadline, and he'll take the kids. And there's been times where I've done the same for him. So I think having that partnership has really been the cornerstone of our foundation.
Absolutely. And he's still happily, married and excited about his 21-year-old wife.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, obviously, you've told us where you've been, what you're working on, and everything else. But Bonita, we're now in your world. What's next?
What's next is we would love to bring as many people with us on this journey. And really, the sky's the limit, and we're working on a global platform. So my footprint doesn't end in South Africa. The thing that makes this business that we're in so phenomenally brilliant is that it's global, and we're building a team worldwide. And everybody's potential is limitless. So if you're seeking a change, if you're seeking to be part of something bigger than yourself, then reach out because we'd love to show you the way. We'd love to build this organization with you and help you build your own little empire. It's all about building an empire at the end of the day, a lifelong generational legacy. And that is next. We're going to, well, primarily we want to bring the whole of Nelspruit into balance. And from Nelspruit, we're going to reach out into the other parts of the country and then infiltrate our neighboring countries and then go globally.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough, and primarily that 3-year-old that sprung you into action, because had she not had her birthday then, maybe some of this would not have been happening and you wouldn't have had that chat spot there. So I can't wait to see where you're going to take all of this.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. And for those that are watching right now, you can notice that Bonita's journey just really shows that real prosperity is a calm mind, a healthy body, a present family, and a business that actually supports your life, not consumes it. So if this conversation resonated with you, here's what I want you to do next. I want you to ask yourself, what part of my life is successful on paper, but empty in reality? There's a lot of people that are public successes, but are very, very private failures, and you know who you are. And then when you're ready, just share this episode with one person who's maybe building a life that looks good on the outside, but it feels heavy on the inside. And while you're at it, if somebody shared this video with you, thank them, because they probably noticed something in you that you haven't noticed in yourself. And I encourage you right about now to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show, because the next episode, we're going to be unpacking ideas that will help you build a happier, calmer, and more intentional existence. It's not just about money, it's about meaning and creating a life that you love. Until next time, bye for now.